Personal development tips. How to kickstart change without major life event. Are you going to wait until life pushes you into personal development? Or do you want a kickstart to change into the personal development mindset? The first step to a major change in personal development is to get started, and then the pressure is off. But it's easy to say, not always easy to gather the energy and courage to really start a change, especially if life is crazy busy and the week is already planned out. Often the kickstart that gets someone to realize that a change needs to take place happens through a personal traumatic major life event, whether it's a loss of a job, a divorce, or depression. A major life event that causes big change usually happens when things have gone too far, and life is giving you a reminder to listen. At that point, everything comes to a screeching halt. How long have you been thinking of living your life differently, a more balanced and in-tune life with time for personal development? Has it been a while? The intervention by life can be too much to handle for some, and the option is not pretty. There is another way. Making a personal commitment and a decision to change and prioritize your well-being is enough. It is as simple as making a decision and the pressure is off. The second you make a conscious decision that it's time to change, an emotional energy block around personal development is released and acted upon. The path of change all of a sudden seems totally clear and natural. One of the keys to getting started on the path of personal development is to identify and release the energy that is behind the feelings of overwhelm, frustration, confusion, blame, distraction, avoidance, and defensiveness. In addition, perfectionism is an expression of an emotional energy block that can appear as being effective on the surface, but it's actually holding you back from acting from a place of balance, purpose, and authenticity. What is going to flip the switch to making personal development a priority for you? Is it yet another job that is exhausting or boring? Are you handling more work and additional kids' activities that are piling up, leaving no time for you? Does the constant feeling of not being enough wear you down? The most common things I hear when someone is considering coaching for personal development is, I know I want and need a change, but how do I know what I want to change or how? Or, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can change. Maybe later when I have figured it all out. That's when it's time to ask, what is the cost to your life long term if you were to keep things just the way they are? That's when the switch is flipped for most. Okay, that is an unacceptable scenario, they say. Let's start today. I'm ready. I don't want to wait anymore. How can I get started? Essential to any action in life, whether it's renovating a house or personal development, is to believe that a change is worth it. You need to believe that if you are indeed to change, it's going to result in what you want. Would you renovate a house without believing it was possible? No. It's the same with personal development. Believe that it's possible, envision yourself already there, and the change is already happening. In the same way, it's critical to get honest with yourself and own it. What does it mean to own it? It means that you can see your contribution to how you got to this place right now and your part in the current situation. This is critical to personal development. And it can be very difficult to admit and see clearly. Responsibility is something that most people at some point in their lives are avoiding. Now is the time to own it. Owning it is also the same as seeing reality for what it is and align with the reality. Sometimes it's easier to not change, but judge others instead. Judging is a way to defend and rationalize your current situation. By judging, you make someone else the focal point, taking away the focus from your need to change and for why for a minute. This is a reverse energy that gives a false sensation of control. The more you judge, the more you're going to stay just where you are. Keeping your focus off yourself and eliminating the opportunity for personal development and growth. If you're right at the cusp of making a decision to elevate your personal development, don't wait for the perfect moment to start. You are right where you need to be. Here are 3 simple tips to naturally kickstart you into the mindset of personal development. You can start personal development before you even know what you want to change or where to start. The first tip: say yes to every opportunity that comes your way. Start with the duration of 1 week. Every single opportunity that comes your way. This is an experiment that's not only going to shift you into the mindset of possibility, but also give you a head start and momentum. You will feel that you're on your way, and just that feeling of opportunity will align you with the force of abundance. Second tip: give compliments at least 5 times a day for a week to people you meet. Compliments are like giving gifts. It feels good. In the average interaction between 2 people, there are very few authentic compliments. Why? Because humans naturally are wired to look after your own agenda first, and then listen and appreciate another human. And there are fake compliments and authentic compliments. Authentic compliments come to you naturally in the moment. They're not given for a reason and to get something in return, but with intention to truly give a compliment to another person that you both can feel. I've created this practice for you to become aware of the power of giving authentic compliments. Pay attention to the following when you give a compliment. What is your intention when you give the compliment? How do you feel? How does the compliment get received? Third tip: write down 3 sentences per day describing what you're grateful for about yourself. The biggest barrier to change is the belief that we can't change. It's more comfortable to stay the way you are, even if it's costing you your well-being. What are some of your strengths or qualities of yours that you are proud of, and why? Explore new strengths and qualities every day for a week. Don't forget to write them down and why. This practice will build your courage and curiosity to start a change and expand on those strengths and how you bring them out to the world. Here's a bonus tip: get a journal and start treating your own personal development time as sacred. With this Kickstart practice comes self-awareness, which is the key to change. Without self-awareness, no change. Before I started journaling, I rarely let the constant train of thought stop. I didn't pay attention to what the message was about myself, about others, and situations during my day. Journaling changed that completely. It's amazing to witness what comes out on the page when I allow myself to just free write. I've learned so much about myself. How about 15 minutes of free writing every day for a week? You'll be amazed what you discover. Who's in for the challenge with me? In summary, say yes to every opportunity that comes your way during next week. Give compliments at least 5 times a day for a week to people you meet. Write down 3 sentences per day describing what you're grateful for about yourself. And the bonus was get a journal dedicated to use during your personal development time. Change does not have to come to you through a major life event. It can start today. Hello, Bethany. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. Hi, Ulrika.
Hi there. Thank you so much for wanting to be part of this conversation. And the topic of today is personal development tips. How to kickstart change without a major life event. And that's something that is definitely, I know, relevant to me, because sometimes we and probably for you too, that we go along with life and feeling frustrated and this feeling of building up, that we're feeling a little stuck, and then something happens. So this topic is really, in this conversation, is more about how to make it a little easier on ourselves and how to make that commitment to actually change our lives when we feel it's time to. So, in what way, Bethany, do you feel that this topic is relevant to our modern world and how we live our lives today?
Oh, it's very relevant from my perspective. We're all so busy, and we don't have major life changing events every day. So you have to. I think it's a great topic for people who are just really busy and need a few tips to kind of think about how can I focus on what's going to come next for me. And you gave a few tips in the blog post that are really relevant for
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, and I think that's that feeling inside sometimes that, I really love some parts of my life, but there's some parts that really needs to change. And I think it goes without saying that most people have periods and seasons in life when that's happening. So, yeah. So I'd like to ask you also, what would you recommend to somebody who feels stuck and have that inner knowing of that something needs to change, but don't know where to start? What would you recommend that somebody that's listening or viewing this to start?
I think one of the things that helped with me, because I did have a pretty significant change that I went through over the past year, in the way I live my life, and one of the things that I started doing a few years ago, and I've talked to you about this over the course of our lives, is exactly that: talking to people, saying what it is that you would like, how you would like your life to be different, or talking about those things that are where you're feeling a little bit stuck. And you don't have to harp on it, so you don't think about it all the time, but putting out there to people, here is how I'd like my life to be different, and sharing those, your thoughts, or if you already have a vision for how you'd like your life to be in the future, sharing what that vision is. And I think being able to articulate it gives people the opportunity to comment back to you and have a conversation about it, and that just opens your mind to different ways that you can think about, how do I get to that place? How do I reach that vision? And just really being able to have people to speak with about it and think about.
I love that. And you you hit on something that really is part of how it becomes clearer for ourselves in that conversation with somebody else, and new perspectives coming in. And it also is a way of expanding on that vision, validate it, how it feels when you talk about it. So that's awesome. What a great recommendation to share that vision with somebody, and actually becomes more real. Yeah,
Yes.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So the blog post talks about also making a commitment to grow and change. Give an example from your own life when you made a commitment to like like a major commitment like this and how it felt like for you.
Um, so I mentioned just a minute ago in the fact that I did have a big change in my life recently that I created. I wanted that. I wanted this change, and so I think that your question is exactly what happens, right? You make a commit. You see that here's the path I want to take. You make a commitment to that path, and it takes time. It could take months or it could take years, but you know, when I decided that this is a change I wanted to make in my life, um, it did become a commitment. It became something that this is what I'm working towards, and so the little steps that you take every day, and or just over the course of living your life, you know that you've committed to something, that take the steps that you need to. It really changes your mindset, Ulrika, on how you have conversations at work, for example. You know, my commitment was to leave a very high stress job and to find other things to do and to take some time off and commit to myself for a while. And luckily, I had the support of my family to do that. But by making that commitment 6, 12, 3 months prior to that new start, if you will, I was able to change the way I spoke to my people that I worked with every day, because it gave me a freedom of thought, or a freedom to not always be worried about. Um, I guess it was just a kind of a freedom to think a little bit differently
That's
in how you present your ideas, and the confidence I had in terms of how I presented ideas, because I knew I was going to be changing.
yeah.
So I felt very free to commit to a different way of living, and that came across in how I worked and dealt with my family, and not dealt with my family, but how I interacted with my family and people at work and friends.
So it sounds like that anticipation of that change that you had so clear in your mind, that even going through that process and even still being at work, you could feel kind of a comfort, being content that, okay, this change is coming up. I'm just going to, let loose of all the expectations of what's currently kind of happening. So,
Uh,
yeah.
it removed some of that stress, so I was able to get through that that period, because I saw a light at the end of the tunnel, I guess is how you phrase it.
That's so important. And just that, and it sounds like also that what really changed for you was that commitment. This is happening. You made a personal commitment, and you could feel it inside that, this is going to happen. But you were still in your current job, saw that path that you could take, and actually acted on it. So awesome. Yeah. And you mentioned also how you felt about it, that little bit of a weight coming off your shoulders, feeling free in a different way. So that's, yeah.
Very much. Yeah, very much so. It was, that's exactly how it felt. And it wasn't that any change had happened yet. It was just to the point of, what we were talking about earlier, and what you mentioned in your blog. I think it is about your mindset, and that having that mindset change was freeing for me.
Awesome. That it's so good. And for those who are listening or viewing this can happen for you today as well. So see if you're having this inner feeling of you're stuck, that you know that there's something else around the corner for you. See if you can step back and rest in that feeling. And yeah, awesome advice, or awesome recommendation here. So on that topic, what does owning your personal development mean to you, Bethany?
I guess what I would say in terms of how I approached my change was, in addition to just speaking about it and having conversations with family and friends, it was also thinking about, okay, where my personal development was, I need to see what other people are doing when they take this step. And so I was researching and doing, looking at some YouTube videos and doing different reading and doing some researching on blogs and internet posts. And really, so for me, personal development was to think, I don't want to copy anybody on how they're going to live their lives if they make this change. I wanted to see what other people have done, just so I could, from their experiences. And I think that's, for me, as far as personal development goes, it is understanding how other people, look at change and what worked for them. It may not be the same thing that worked for me or will work for me in the future, but at least it gives me an idea of some ways that you can approach.
Yeah. Yeah, and personal development is, as you mentioned, it's not just kind of only going inside and knowing, because a lot of the times we don't know what's the right path. And it sounds like the approach you took was kind of, I want to look around and see what I get excited about.
That's true. Thank you for articulating what I was trying to say. And it was not, absolutely, what makes me excited inside, excuse me, what makes me smile when trying to be a little bit more in tune with how I reacted and how I interpreted information and what did I do with all this information that I was collecting? Like, how was I able to take that and create ideas and things I wanted to do and just, kind of work through my thoughts and how I felt about different potential paths. And
yeah, because after having maybe, and some of you who are listening or viewing might relate to this as well, that we have gone through a career where every day pretty much looks the same, and it's like it's not easy to know, like, what am I really excited about? So outside work and other things that just have been coming to us on a day-by-day basis. But it sounds that really worked for you to kind of do the research and poke around and get inspired with what other people have been experiencing and so on. So
it opened me up to possibilities where I didn't even, I wanted to see, okay, what are the possibilities? And that was really the point, was to say, okay, what are my options out there? And then to allow me to take that information and say, okay, what's going to make me happy? What's going to, fit in with that vision?
Yeah, so good. So good. So, let me ask you that. What 3 things have you said yes to in the last 6 months?
So I think I made the decision to make this change and leave my job, and I said, yes, that's something I'm going to do. Yes, I'm going to take this step. It's scary, but I'm doing it. And part of that was the things that I felt like were important to me now in my life. I wanted to try new things. I wanted to meet new friends and meet new people and, see new places and all of those things. I said yes to those. Yes, yeah. I will try that. I will. And this is really a very basic example, but I saw on Facebook a friend of mine who lives now in Florida, and she was trying this new sport called pickleball and doing really well with it. And I said, I don't even know what that is. And so without even knowing what it was, I just said, yes, I need to try that. I need to, and it's been so much fun. I've only been playing for a few months, but I've met so many wonderful people and have so many new acquaintances and feel healthier. It's been fun. It's been a really good yes.
Yes, no, and it's amazing what life can do to open up these new experiences just by saying yes. So, and yeah, that's so good, so awesome. And this is something I ask everyone. What is one thing that you live by?
I don't know. That's a really hard question. I think there's so many things that I don't have a single thing. I don't feel if there is a single thing that I live, I don't know what it
Pick
is.
one. Pick one.
I still need to figure out what is that one thing that I live by. I don't. So yeah, it's something I could still think about in my life.
Yeah, yeah, and that's something that we not often think about. Like, what are our values, and what is really something that we uh, live by, but not really reflect upon. So that's perfectly fine, and that will come to you the day you will notice the day you kind of, oh, this is really important to me. I'm not going to bulge on that. So.
And one of the things, one of your tips in the blog, which I hadn't thought about before, you mentioned, what three things, what are you grateful for? And I'm reading through the blog again before our conversation today. I was like, well, here are some things I'm grateful for, and the opportunities I have been given since I said yes to my change, and I think as I become even more grateful for those, and I have the opportunity to um to to think about those more, I think that would help me come up with okay, this is really what I'm living by. I've never put it in words, or I've never thought about it but yeah,
Yeah.
your tip was gave me a new way to think about it, for sure. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So, Bethany, where can we connect and learn more about you?
Oh, so I'm just getting started on this plan, and so I have set up a Facebook page called Get Out a Map, and it is on Facebook. And I do also have a blog called getoutamap.com, which is, if anybody would go look at that now, they'd see a big blank page because I haven't started it yet. But that is where in the future, either on the Facebook Get Out a Map, or on the blog page, people would be able to connect with me.
Awesome.
And it's
So
going to,
what's gonna, from this blank page, what's gonna
yeah.
come into, what will people experience when they get to your Facebook page now and we start filling that page up?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's going to be the story, or the journal, if you will, that talks about my current travels and my plans, and I'm planning to um, travel more, using a camper van and an RV that I purchased, and just getting started on it. So there's a few posts about some fun things I did in my first trip down to Florida back in February, and going forward, I'm starting on a trip out to the West Coast, and going through the Midwest of the U.S. and out to the West Coast. So that's what people will be able to hear about.
Oh,
And
that sounds so exciting.
yeah,
I recommend everyone to tune in to Get Out a Map and follow Bethany's adventures coming up
thank
here.
you.
All
Thank you,
right.
Ulrich.
Thanks so much for being part of this conversation, and great luck with your travels.
Thank you. Have a good day.